tear you apart.
That's Tiger. He's tearing me apart. A head box filled with bees.
Come over to my house and I'll slap you 16 times for free too.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and today we are back with another dun-dun mukbang. Woo! Guys, I'm so freaking excited because today we are... I didn't do my Spooktober intro. Okay, ready? Boo. I feel like it's not working well for me.
Really...
Today I'm excited because we have a whole ass Alaskan king crab. Before we get started in this delicious food, I'm actually going to tell you guys what this delicious story is about today. What if you were signing up to have your privacy invaded by a haunted house? Well, technically, you're doing that right now. You're doing that every day of your life, that you use any sort of Wi-Fi, any sort of internet without a VPN. Come on, that was good. That was good. That was good?
Pretty good.
For most of my internet life, I don't know why, it was way too long. I always thought, hey, if I use a private browser, if I use incognito mode in Chrome, that means that I'm practicing internet safety and protecting my privacy.
You are not.
Your IP address is still out and available for people to gain access to your files, your downloads, your computer. I don't know why, when something feels too complex, I never jump on it. And so when I first heard about like cybersecurity and getting a VPN, I was like, that sounds like something like really rich people or like hackers need to care about. Like, who wants to hack me? Nobody, right? But what happens is anytime you go to a Starbucks, an airport, a hotel, or maybe your school campus and you log on to an unsecure network, any browsing history you have,
whether it's in private mode or not,
any website you access, anything you download from the internet, all of that could be easily monitored, hacked, tracked, and they could collect your data through that. I would highly suggest that you guys get a VPN, and the one that I have been absolutely obsessed with, and the one that I find to be the most user-friendly is NordVPN.
So thank you, Nord, for sponsoring today's video.
So for a limited time, if you guys use the link in my description, you can actually get 70% off a 3-year plan, plus an additional 1 month free if you use the code Stephanie, which is crazy because I feel like that's a lot of commitment, but trust me, if you need NordVPN now, you're definitely gonna need it 3 years down the road. Also, I do want to mention, I know some people are like, Bates, I wanted to watch your videos, but I was traveling to China, so I can't watch YouTube. Well, let me tell you something that works with NordVPN, I'm just saying, because they have thousands of servers in over 61 different countries, and it won't slow down your streaming service. So you are not gonna see me in 320p. So make sure to check out the link in the description to get 70% off a 3-year plan, plus an additional month for completely free with the code Stephanie. And you also have a 30-day guarantee if you don't like it, which I promise you're gonna need it, you're gonna like it. So thank you, NordVPN, for sponsoring today's video, and let's get, I don't have utensils, into it. No, should I really? Is it gonna ruin their appetite though? We just left really quick for 2 seconds to get our cup ramen because...
Be careful.
Because I knew that I was gonna need this, right? And I was telling him the story because he's pouring the water, the boiling hot water, into the cup ramen, and he's spilling a little bit, and he's standing right in front of it, so it trickles down to his toe and his leg, and he's like, oh. And then he goes, tip number 1, don't put your legs there. And I'm like, okay, I feel like everyone knows this. That seems like a common sense, not tips. And so I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happened to our close family friend. And he's like, wait, what happened again? And I was explaining that she was trying to move a massive thing of boiling water from the stove to the sink, and one of the handles fell off. And so imagine heavy water, it falls, it came all over her legs.
I feel like that, she can't do
No,
anything
it's not
about
that
it.
she was being careless or anything like that. Yeah. And so she had to get a skin graft and remove skin from her like buttocks area and put it on her legs because it was such a bad burn. Yeah.
Why do I feel like this is the scariest thing I've heard a whole
And
month?
so like that's why even like when my mom was over a couple weeks ago, I saw her, like she always shakes handles before she picks them up.
She probably bought it from a Korean place, huh?
Yeah, probably H-Mart. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but probably.
But if it's American store.
You're getting sued.
Sorry.
Stephanie sued.
I don't know how to get into it. This is probably the biggest king crab that we've, I think we've only done 2 whole king crabs, which is crazy because I never imagined to eat like an actual whole king crab. I don't know many people who have. Like my mom never had one until that time that we were in Atlanta. And this is insanely juicier. Like so much meatier. Just looking at like all the meat on the body part.
I'm like intimidated.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I don't know where to start. Okay.
Yeah. Look at the size of the meat just in this little
Oh my
joint
gosh.
body part.
This is nuts. delicious. And I don't know if we cooked it well today, but it's very good.
Goodness.
I'm thinking.
Oh my god, this is all meat.
Wow. That's like a meal right there.
Yeah.
That's like a fancy dinner place charges you $1 bajillion for that much king crab. Honey, look at this meat. That's just part of the leg. I'm so confused.
That's just part of the body.
Oh my gosh. That's really good. I have 2 different sauces. I have like a Cajun-y one. And then I have my just cilantro, green onion, ponzu sauce, which I think is the best.
Wow.
This is the best if you enjoy the taste of seafood because this will enhance it, but it won't really be so overpowering. Wow! Oh my gosh! Holy cow! We're silent. What do you think, babe?
10 out of 10.
I feel like this is a lot of meat compared to the last one.
It's a lot.
Oh my goodness. Today's story starts in 2016. Well, the original story goes way back then, but I'm gonna just drop you guys off in the middle of 2016 prior, a couple months before October. And it happened October 28th, I believe, of 2016 in San Diego, California. Now, to understand this story, you need a lot of background information, but I'm not gonna give that to you till later. That's right. I'm a troll. We're just gonna focus on a woman by the name of Laura. Now, Laura at the time, she was older. She was older than 21. That becomes pertinent to the information later on. And
older than 21 can mean a lot of things.
I know. Maybe she was like 23. I'm just kidding. And so Laura was residing in Colorado at the time. And to give you some interesting facts about Laura's life at the time in 2016, she was estranged from her husband, which means estranged is separated and not talking but not legally divorced. So you could be estranged from your family or your husband, etc. He's like, how do I file for that? Where do I go?
You can file for that? Or just don't talk to them? Okay.
She was not talking to her husband, but she was still married, and she didn't really know, am I supposed to be talking to other people? We didn't really discuss it. I mean, it seemed like that's where it was going because it's, he had moved out at the time, and they were just not getting along, okay? And so at the time, Laura had really fallen into this love for, they're called haunters. And this is actually a group of people. It's like people who will go out and look for, like, it's almost like escape room people, but for haunted houses or haunted places, right? Okay. So it's like they just travel the world and go to these exhibits, which, did you guys know haunted houses, they're like a $300 million business in the United States, and it all happens in October.
So just 1 month of the year, right? They make all the money.
What's nuts? And so Laura had become obsessed with haunted houses and just exploring these types of things. And then she realized, hey, this just doesn't get me going. This is some weak shit. Like, I'm not a little bit. Haunted houses don't do it for me. I need something more exciting. And so one day she was browsing the internet and she came across something called McKamey Manor, right? And this becomes pertinent to the story. This is pretty much what our entire video today is going to be about because it's just so creepy. I don't understand it. There's a lot of psychology behind it. There's also a lot of conspiracy that involves the dark web and Las Vegas high roller shakala big bala. She comes across something called McKamey Mansion, and it's supposed to be this invigorating, all just crazy, hands-on deck, no rules made type of haunted house experience. So that means that she would go into this haunted house, and there would be a bunch of actors there, and only 2 people go in at a time, and it's a fully immersive experience. The actors are allowed to touch you, they're allowed to bang you up, they're allowed to
bang you up?
Not bang you, but like hurt you. They're allowed to like pull your hair, smack you. Because haunted houses typically have a rule that they can't touch you.
Okay. So you're getting beat up by a bunch of people? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. So she sent her husband there?
And so she sees this, and she's like, which I'll get into everything they do in a little bit, right? She's like, I think I like this. I think I'm going to try it. Now, here's the interesting thing about McKamey Manor. It's completely free to enter. All you have to do is bring a 55-pound bag of dog food. And they donate it to Operation Greyhound, which they save greyhounds. And it's completely free to enter. So you're probably wondering, why doesn't everyone and their mother enter? It's a free experience. Sounds like you have nothing to lose. Well, it's a very extensive process. It takes months and months just to get in. Allegedly, there's a wait list of over 20,000 people. They only take one tour a week, which is 2 people. So really, every year, they only take about 100 people, okay?
No way.
Yeah, and it's very crazy. You have to sign a 40-page waiver. You have to have a background check done by them, a drug test. You have to have a note from a doctor saying you're mentally and physically capable. You have to have proof of health insurance, medical insurance, and you have to be over 21 or you have to be 18 with a parent's consent, right?
So is this like the ultimate
horror experience, right? And so at first when I was hearing about it, just like Laura, it's intriguing, right? It sounds like something that I might not want to do today, but maybe in my lifetime. It's like one of those things like skydiving. Oh, that sounds like an adrenaline rush, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to get vetted by the person who runs it. And his name is Russ McKamey.
Mm-hmm. What is he vetting?
To see if you're actually okay to go in, because it's psychological abuse as well.
Abuse?
It's abuse to the fullest extent. Yeah. And so he vets you and makes sure that you're not going to crack, you're not going to die, you have no health problems like heart conditions, because a regular haunted house, if you have health conditions, a lot of cardiologists say don't go because it will raise your heartbeat and you might have a heart attack.
Exactly.
You know?
Is this famous?
Yeah.
Have you heard about this before?
I heard about it and I thought it was some rich dude that was like wicked and twisted, but it's not. The story is really sinister.
And this is going on today.
Mm-hmm.
What?
And so she emails the founder, Russ McKamey, and he starts talking to her. Now they talk for about a month, and then he says, you know what? We vetted you. We have a tour in a couple of months that has an opening because we've already filled up until October.
Uh-huh.
How does October 28th sound to you? Now, mind you, she lives in Colorado. She has to travel to San Diego on her own dime, right? Yeah. And have this experience, okay? And she says, oh my gosh, amazing. And he goes, now, up until that point, I want to fully immerse you. That's the best way to have this experience. Now, that's one of the reasons that we vet so far out in advance, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to join our Facebook group, McKamey Manor, right? And I'm going to call you and give you some tasks to do. And once you've completed it, you need to post them into the Facebook group. And it's nothing crazy. It's like things like go to your local Halloween store. It's like things like, you know, do this, do that. Nothing too crazy or alarming from what I've read, right?
Why are they doing that then?
It's just to show your full loyalty and make you keep thinking about it because it's months and months out, right?
I see.
And so she's constantly thinking about it. And then finally, right before she, you know, this is so crucial because it's almost like she's going through this experience where she's having a loss of love, right? And this thing is almost giving her adrenaline before she even gets there. She's like, wow, like I'm no longer talking to my husband, but I'm about to do this crazy thing by myself. Like, this is nuts, right? Mm-hmm. And so she even goes and gets a tattoo that says McKamey Manor and has the date of her tour before she goes on to it.
She got a tattoo of it?
Yeah, just to show like herself like, hey, you have balls, like you got this, right? There is a massive group of people who will fight to your online death. They will literally defend McKamey Manor to the death, and then you have a select group of people who hate it and think it's illegal.
So the ones that's defending this, they have all been to this haunted house.
Or they love the idea of it.
Okay.
You know? And they think anyone who doesn't like the idea is a snowflake.
I'm a snowflake then.
So she does all of these things and she gets this tattoo, and during this time she's posting all about it into the Facebook group McKamey Manor. Mm-hmm. Now here's what's amazing about Facebook groups, other than when they're invading your privacy.
Let me get.
Sorry. You know, I want to blame my
Be careful, be
scissors.
careful.
She's posting it onto this group when she starts talking to a guy who lives on the other side of the country. And he's part of the group, and he loves McKamey Manor. And he's never been, but he starts talking to her, and it's like, oh, I see that you're going. I love your tattoo. It's a sick tattoo, etc. And they start talking, and she sees through his Facebook profile that he's actually married, right? And so he's like, no, we're actually in the middle of separating. And she's like, that's insane because we're actually in the middle of separating. And so they start bonding over like the experience of like what it means to like get out of a marriage, like the feelings behind it, etc., right? And they start developing a romantic online relationship. Now this comes into play when she gets to San Diego. So then Laura, that day, October 28th, she flies from Colorado to San Diego, but who comes with her? Her estranged husband, because he heard about this and he was like, listen, Laura, I'm not going in with you, but I don't want you to die in San Diego.
No way.
Yeah, and so he flew with her.
Okay. Does the husband know that she has a boyfriend online? Oh, what?
And so their relationship was really murky. Like, Laura didn't really know what was going on between her and her husband. You know, he was seeing other people, she was seeing other people. And so she gets to San Diego. She's so excited. She meets Russ. Now, I'm going to tell you guys more about this process, but she signs a 40-page waiver. I mean, this waiver is insane. Like, I heard about some of the things that are on this waiver. Nuts.
What is on there?
Oh, I'll tell you in a second. Hold on. And so she signs this 40-page waiver, and right before she's about to start her tour, and I mean like maybe an hour before, the way that they do it, no blindfold, none of that. They just duct tape your head, like around your eyes. They get duct tape. They don't give you a tissue. They just duct tape your eyes closed.
Wait, so you're blindfolded the whole experience?
No, they take it off later. They rip it off later whenever they want. And they record you the entire time. Russ records the entire experience, right? This becomes pertinent to the story later.
Does she know any of this thing that's happening? Like that's what she signed up
Yeah.
for? Oh. And she's getting excited.
Yes, but here's what she didn't sign up for. She felt that she had a completely different experience from everybody else at McKamey Manor, right? And here's why. An hour prior to going on her tour, she had signed all these waivers. Her and her estranged husband are sitting there, and she's getting excited. She's like, oh, I feel like an independent woman. Like, she's going through all these feelings that I feel like, you know, are very valid feelings. It's like, I've read a lot of, like, people who, like, want to do crazy things when they, you know, get separated, etc. So, like, a lot of Redditors are like, we get it, you know? We understand the adrenaline rush. She's excited, and then Russ comes over, and he's live streaming on that Facebook group of McKamey Manor. And he goes, Laura, so I've heard you've been busy online. And he pretty much exposes her affair with another McKamey Manor Facebook group person who is married. And he exposes all of that. And come to find out, the guy she's talking to online is not separating, but is actually still happily married with his wife. He is very mad at Laura for airing his dirty laundry, I guess.
Okay, so Laura, at the time of when this is all happening online, she thought it was okay.
He's upset, and her estranged husband was just humiliated in the process.
Okay.
Because it's like, they probably didn't tell their families, or, you know, I don't know.
So why did he do that? Is it, oh, maybe this is like a part of the process. They do everything to tear you apart.
That's Tiger. He's tearing me apart. And so he exposes the affair to the entire Facebook group. Now, this heavily embarrasses the estranged husband, so he says, you know what? That's it. Like,
I'm out.
Yeah, and he says, I want a divorce when we get back.
Oh my God.
And this was minutes before the tour. And what she realized was a shift. Now, at this point, yes, she just lost her husband. She just lost the guy that she was actually starting to fall into a very nice relationship with online, right? So she loses both of them. But she was thinking, you know what? I'm still here. Whatever. F it. This is more of a reason to follow through with this haunted manor, right? And so she goes, okay, let's do this. But she did notice the entire time Russ was acting very, very vengeful against her. Not just in a, ooh, you ready for this tour bit? But like,
I don't like cheaters. Why would you cheat? I hate cheaters.
just kept saying cheaters this, cheaters that, cheaters this, right? And she was like, okay, that's very weird, but this seems like a professional environment. I mean, there was literally 40-page waiver, which means there's probably a lot of legal work, etc. So it should be fine. She gets blindfolded, taken into the manor, and the amount of stuff that she goes through. She was whipped. She had male actors repeatedly slap her across the face as hard as they could.
What?
She was waterboarded, allegedly, according to Laura. She was tasered. She was buried in dirt, and they stuck a tiny little straw in her mouth, and that was the only way she could breathe for a while. And then they eventually poured dirt down it, and it was going into her throat, and she was coughing, screaming, "I need water," and they would just dump cold buckets of ice water on her body. And she said it was the most traumatizing experience, but the reason that she held on for so long was because...
She can quit in the middle or no?
Well, here's the thing. In the beginning of McKamey Manor, they never had a safe word. They decide when you can quit. But nowadays, it's changed a little bit. And so at that point, she was just so numb. She said she never even screamed once. She never even did anything because the realization that she just lost her husband was so big, you know? All of that was just such a shit show that she just took it.
So is this a haunted house or is this just a torture house?
It's like a haunted torture house. Yeah, it's really weird.
And people who likes this believes this is a life-changing experience? What's
So
the
I'll tell
message
you
behind that?
the people that like it.
Right.
Because it's not, you know, at first I was thinking maybe it is, you know, just a different world that I've never, maybe it's like a 50 Shades of Grey type of deal. But very, very heightened, you know?
Right.
And not in like a high rise in Seattle, but like in a manor, you know? In San Diego. But it's not like that actually. And so she's having all of this happen to her. And the time that she just completely broke down as a human, she said, was when they got a razor blade and they started itching at her new tattoo, which was so painful because a new tattoo. Yeah. And so she started crying and she was literally hysterical and her body was she felt like she was in a seizure because of all the adrenaline and the physical pain. And they finally let her out. And when they let her out, they got a pressure washer, the one that the Instagram videos where you do your pavement and it just washes everything clean because the pressure of the water is so rough and cold. They just sprayed her down with a pressure washer while she was still blindfolded, gave her some clothes, and that was it. Sent her on her merry way. And so then she immediately went to the hospital, and at the hospital, they called the cops. Oh, so before she went, I'm so sorry, I went ahead of myself. Before she went, allegedly, Russ made her film the exit video. This is very famous for anyone who has studied or been to or heard about McKamey Manor, which an exit video means you sit there and you say, oh my God, I had such a good time. That was a crazy experience. I would definitely do it again. And he said, if you don't say this, I will sue you for everything you're worth. And he pretty much threatened her. But she was saying even without the threat of financial ruin, she had just been abused and slapped around and waterboarded and tortured in physically painful ways that you can't even imagine. She was saying whatever he wanted her to say just so she could leave. What? And so she said,
I had a great time. I consented to this. I'll definitely be back.
And they use it as evidence?
yes. And including the signed waiver.
But what if, like you say, she's being forced and lied to and all of that? Doesn't matter? You have no legal rights anymore.
She went to San Diego police. They said, well, if you signed a waiver, there's nothing we can do.
No way.
Because let me tell you what's in the waiver. It's not just I consent. It's a crazy waiver.
Are you kidding me? And this is the experience that everybody is getting. Or you think she got it worse?
She got it worse from, it seems, from everybody else.
Why?
She thinks it had to do with maybe the fact that Russ really doesn't like cheaters or something.
What is this?
Because people have been, seen and documented leaving the house, the haunted experience, with a lot of other scars, but hers were definitely the worst. I mean, she had a hairline fracture on her foot. She had bruises everywhere. She had to be sent home with medical mouthwash because she had scars inside her mouth.
What? And there's nothing she can do about it.
That's why some people love McKamey Manor and some people don't. So let me go into what McKamey Manor is and why we think Russ McKamey is running this business making zero income from it. Why would you do that? You don't charge these people to come in. It's not sponsored. How do you make zero revenue from this? Have multiple actors. In his San Diego Manor, he had over $500,000 worth of props and setups and gears. How do you do that, right? And he's not loaded. He's not a wealthy man. He doesn't have a massive savings just sitting on deck ready to go.
So whatever he's doing is definitely not legal
It is legal.
because of those waivers.
Yes. So, but I think what's more intriguing is why, right?
Yes.
So, McKamey Manor started in San Diego. And it was run in San Diego for a while. And in San Diego, it was known to be a lot worse than it is now. It's recently relocated to Tennessee, to a residential area, and a lot of the locals hate it being there because they say it's crazy. Like, they even had to call the cops. So McKamey Manor is run by Russ McKamey and a bunch of actors that go unpaid because this is not a paid experience that people are paying to do.
But those people basically go in there just
To fuck with people, yeah. They must get something out of it, right?
Oh my god, I cannot believe there's so many people who's in line for this.
The only person he pays now, after all the scandal and drama, is an on-call EMT for medical reasons. That's the only paid employee, I believe, right? During the experience. And so you have to be 21 or over to enter, or 18 with consent, right? You have to have a doctor's note, you have to have medical insurance, you have to have a background check done, you have to have Skype interviews with Russ McKamey, just so he can choose you particularly, because he said that there's 20,000 people waiting up to do this, right? And so there's a lot of conspiracy of how he even chooses these people to enter the manor, right? And so the mass majority of the people that are shown to be entering are people who are adrenaline junkies. This is Haunted Explorer.
How's that for some adrenaline, huh?
They're known to be adrenaline junkies. At first I thought it has to be a group of people that somehow get off on this, right? Because, you know, I like haunted mansions, I like scary stories, I like real scary stories, like true crime, you know? But I can't imagine going to a place where I know someone can physically touch me and punch me or pull my hair and etc. and not get something out of it, right? Why would I go there even if it's free? Even if they paid me, I wouldn't do it. So I'm thinking it's gotta be something like that, but it's actually a lot of ex-army people that allegedly go because they need that same harsh adrenaline rush as when you were serving in the army, which you can't really get at a regular haunted mansion.
Can you fight back?
No, you can't.
You can't fight back?
No, because you're restrained and there's like how many of them versus you. Yeah.
What the
And the other purpose is that Russ McKamey and the McKamey Manor, they offer a $20,000 prize if you can last 10 hours inside the manor. 10 hours. Did you know the average runtime for each contestant is about 8 minutes? 8 minutes. There have been so many haunted like places that I've heard of or my friends have been to called like 13 stories or 13 floors, and you just have to get to the 13th floor and like the highest people make it is like the 10th floor. Imagine 10 hours.
I mean, if you go in there, they smack your face as hard as they can for 5 minutes straight. You walk out, your mom won't even recognize you in 5 minutes.
But they said that's not what they're trying to do. They said what they want to do is more psychological. Russ has interviews where he says he wants to psychologically break people. And the reason that he interviews people for so long and vets people and only does one a week is because each tour is completely different and catered to that person. How? He talks to you, finds your biggest fears, and recreates it psychologically to break you. So essentially in this 40-page waiver, it goes in depth of all the things that they can and will do to you, maybe will do to you, and you have to consent to it and you can never sue them, etc., etc. Some of the basic things include they can shave your head and your eyebrows. A lot of women and men come out completely bald.
And they knew that going in.
Yes. They can pull your teeth out.
No!
With tweezers. They can break your fingers and your toes. No big limbs, but your small limbs. Your fingers and your toes. They said they could smash your hand with tools if they'd like.
No.
Yes, they can drown you. They can tase you. They said they can do everything but kill you, essentially. And paralyze you, hopefully. Yes, and they also said that some of the things that people have experienced is a lot of drowning is involved, and a lot of people have been buried in coffins filled with poisonous cockroaches, tarantulas, snakes. Some people are dunked into a tank filled with eels.
Oh.
Really bad time for both of us to eat ramen.
Ew.
Ew.
I'm losing my appetite, actually.
Yeah, I told you. You have to eat a lot of gross things during your time there. Tons of gross things. There are no breaks. They make you come in a onesie, an adult onesie. Like the ones that you get at Target. Like the ones that are real cute and like basic bitches and pumpkin spice lattes and sleepovers. And so you wear that onesie, they put a diaper on you, they blindfold you, and you don't get any bathroom breaks. You get no breaks to do anything. And a lot of people are pushed to the point of bathroom breaks because that's how scared or that's how much you're in pain. They can rip out your fingernails, etc., etc.
They can rip out your fingernails?
Yeah, allegedly the worst I've heard. I don't know if this has happened to someone because there's no footage online. So Gus actually releases a lot of footage, right? Or not Gus, Russ, right? And one of the things I've heard, but I haven't seen the actual proof in the pudding, is inside the waiver, they said that there's a clause that they can actually stick you in a head box filled with bees. So people call it the real life Saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's 20,000 people can't wait to go there.
Yeah.
Is that true? Or he's just marketing himself? Who the heck is going there?
Could be marketing, could not be marketing, right?
Oh my god,
They have
this is so crazy.
Tanks of foul-smelling water, and it's cold, and they just drown you in it. And it's all recorded. And you signed a waiver. And you can't sue him, and he's not in jail. So this is how it works in Tennessee right now. So there was one time where the way that he was operating in San Diego, I don't know if it just became such a local thing that was embedded that none of the San Diego police really got alarmed, okay? Maybe it was something that was in their training, or like, hey, first day on the job, police officer, if you drive by this place, don't be alarmed. Well, in Tennessee, when he first moved shop, he didn't really go and tell the Tennessee police, hey, I'm actually gonna be doing these types of haunts, right? These tours is what he calls it. And so one time a neighbor saw a woman just like, what do you call it, tied up, masked and blindfolded, being pulled out by men out of a truck, slammed onto the ground and dragged into this house, and then you just hear screaming afterwards. And so she calls the cops. They come in, guns a-blazing, and thankfully Russ wasn't down there. He actually ran out of batteries for his camera at the perfect time. Well, I don't know if it was perfect, but so he had gone into the main house and he saw the police pull up and he goes, whoa, 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 what are you guys doing here, right? Mm-hmm. And he pretty much explained they stopped the show. She said, no, I consented to this. They showed all the proofs of the waivers. So now what you see is that Russ will actually give the police a call.
Every time they start.
He says, hey, we're about to start a tour, and they say, okay. But the residents hate it because they're saying, hey, listen, anytime I drive by his house, I'm scared. It's still very alarming to see. Yeah. And also, what am I going to explain to my 8-year-old kid who saw that in the car? And I say, oh, no, we don't call the cops on this one. What do you mean? Like, it's a residential area. How do you want any of this to be explained, right? And so they sign all of these crazy waivers. And you also sign a release that your video can be like put out on the internet of you being tortured, but they're heavily edited. They're heavily edited videos. That's where we get into why is Russ doing this? Which, by the way, I will not be entering any footage into this video because Russ seems a little bit Sue happy. But on top of that, it's just something that I don't like. I also don't really like watching people in pain. I don't understand that concept or that idea. Like, I don't really watch the show Jackass when it was like massive back in the day, or any TV shows that focus on physical pain of people. I don't find it to be very comedic. So I wouldn't recommend you watch it, but it's very eye-telling that it's heavily, heavily, heavily edited. Now, does he bring this edited footage to Sony Pictures? Does he bring it to, definitely not Disney, does he bring it to, some other place and say, hey, I want to sell this as like a real life Blair Witch project, etc., etc.? No, he doesn't do that. So what does he do with this footage? Is it evidence? Yeah. Is it proof that they didn't do anything absolutely not in the waiver? I was going to say crazy, but everything's crazy. Is it proof? Is it as evidence? Because when you see shots of him, like there have been literally articles. He was on a Netflix show during one point about very scary U.S. tourist attractions. and he was in it for like 10 minutes, and he just is so obsessed with filming you. Why is he so obsessed with filming you? And that's what Redditors want to know. Why? Is it for legal reasons? But he almost acts like a producer. You know, you have all these actors doing everything, but he's just so focused on getting the shot, right? And there's this one documentary where he's sitting there with just hours of footage, hours and hours of just horrendous footage. And they're like, so why do you do this? Because you don't make any income from this, right? I mean, is there a different source of income you get through having this Manor that we don't know about? Like, are you like, oh, some freaking fake blood company provides me millions of dollars a year to use their fake blood? Like, is there something weird that we just don't understand? And he's like, no, I literally get $800 because I'm an Army veteran or something like that. I get $800 a month. I spend that on food. I'm actually always in the red every single month. Even if I start charging, which I think I heard these days he's actually charging people about $200 a head. Even if I start charging, I'll always be in the red because it takes me, I mean, think about all the props you have, think about all the gear you have, all of that. Plus he said it takes about $500 just to do a short, like 8 minutes of them, the average of them inside the Manor. Okay? Yeah. And so they're like, so then why do you do it? And he just goes, I just love editing the footage.
He just like to watch them.
He just likes to watch them. But people don't think that's true.
He's selling it to the dark web.
Yes. People think
makes sense.
He's selling the full footage to the dark web.
Yeah.
That's a concept or a theory that people have. The other theory is that there has known to be a lot of, in the dark web arena, there's known to be a lot of betting happening.
Yeah, there's many movies about those.
And so they say that it's actually not the dark web, but he has connections in Vegas, allegedly. San Diego is close to Vegas, you know.
They're
a lot of
betting,
people.
Like, how long Sally can last. Dude, this is like Hunger Game and
he's betting to these high roller shot kala big ballas.
Okay, well this is like literally just like, have you watched a movie? There was a movie just like this, I believe.
Really? Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end, the guy who was in the show, I think he pretend to be. Eventually, they trying to kill the person, and then the guy pretend to be dead, and then end up killing the host or something, and then got away or and end up killing all the rich people. But I don't know.
Yeah, and so a lot of people think it's that, right? So then the question is, why though, right? Why would these well-off people or these dark web people that are twisted, why would they buy this footage that they know that these people voluntarily are there, right? Versus footage that people aren't voluntarily there for, because that could exist on the dark web, right? Because if you're that sick and twisted and you want to watch this type of footage, you probably want the real, not the real deal, but the sicker one because you're sick, right? So a lot of people are asking that, and they're saying, well, this is just a good selling point of, hey, if you're found with this footage, you're not going to get arrested. But if you're found with the real deal, that's a huge risk of getting arrested. So even with like Vegas high rollers, maybe they really like to bet on like human games. That's illegal, right? And they could get, you know, a slap on the wrist. Usually if they're rich, it's a slight slap on the wrist. But if you were watching, if you imagine a bunch of rich people in a room watching real people getting really tortured, imagine the jail time. So they're saying, hey, this is, you know, how to please that area of your life, but still be cautious legally.
Okay, so all of that we've all kind of heard of how dark it is. But who the hell still goes there?
Yeah, and so that is how they think he makes money. And the other reason is some people are like, that doesn't make sense. You know, who would buy that? It seems so far-fetched. It seems like a crazy Reddit theory. Some people think he just does it for himself. It's a legal gray area. He likes this type of sick stuff. He doesn't want to go to jail, so he's found a way to do it.
Sure.
Right? And so another thing is the vetting process. They believe that the vetting process is so stringent and so strict for two reasons. One, it lasts a month because he's not only the only one. He could be sending it to all the people on the dark web or in Vegas, and they decide who they bring in.
Oh.
So Skype video calls, those can all be recorded on your phone or your computer, and he'll send these, and they can actually pay to request someone in particular. So it's truly the full creepy, nasty-ass experience of all the crazy Reddit dark web theories I've always talked about. but technically somewhat legal. And so that's probably why it takes so long. And the other reason is people say that Russ is just kind of vetting for the submissive types. His entire joy comes from watching people just completely just disappear and give in. And he just loves it.
Twisted.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, who goes there though? You think all those people are kind of getting they don't know the full story going in, or they knew the story?
You know, I think who goes there? I think there's multiple types of people that go there. I do believe there's the adrenaline junkies, right? The ones that maybe have experienced a lot in life. Maybe not for the good reasons, maybe for the bad reasons. I don't know, right? Or maybe they've had crazy jobs. Like, the ex-army veterans. I could see that, like, why they would want to go there. Because nothing could replace the adrenaline, and maybe they just need that. It's probably not a good thing, but I could see that. I could reason with it. In my head, it's like, it makes sense, right? And the other thing is, it's almost like the one-chip challenge. Where, do I really want to do the one-chip challenge? Probably not. But do I want to say...
to see how... tough you are.
And everybody always thinks they're so much tougher going in, and they usually last like a minute to 8 minutes. And most of these dudes, they come crying out. And I did
most
see
of these dudes.
Yeah, and I did see a lot of the footage of the people going in, and it just,
they all seem like they can do this.
Or they just like want to experience it. I think you also have a group of just insanely curious people. Because you do have to think about the people that are like, because sometimes I think about that. I know it's so weird, but sometimes I do think about, like, if you read stories about people like Elizabeth Smart, right? And you're always like, if I got kidnapped and just tortured, do I have the mental capacity to survive, or would I just die?
Yeah, or like zombie.
Yeah, like a zombie apocalypse. But this is the only way that you could fully experience it. Because if you go to like Disney Spooktoberfest, you're not going to get it. You're going to get Mickey Mouse in a pumpkin costume. That's it, So it's like you have the curious people, you have the adrenaline junkies, you have the ones that want to say that they did it.
Wow.
So it's definitely got a cult following of its own.
Holy cow, this is just
so
blowing my mind off.
I'm just gonna say, I don't judge people who go, right? And I would never go, and I would never let my kids go, my family members go. I would never let my friend go. Like, if you call me and you were like, hey, I think I'm gonna go do McKamey Manor, I'd be like,
Come over to my house and I'll slap you 16 times for free too.
like, it's just, I don't know. I would never, But again, hey, if you're consenting to this, on paper, 40 pages of them saying, I'm going to stick your head in a bee box, I'm going to do this to your nails, I'm going to cut your hair off, and you're like, signed.
And this is, what is it again? If you can last 10 hours? 10 hours.
10 hours for 20 grand.
Oh my god, this is out of control.
I know. And the real question is, none of these people probably have any sort of training of crisis management. Does that make sense? Like, if you are in a state of extreme panic, anxiety, pain, or if you're drowning in a tub, do they know the exact measures that need to be taken so that you don't die, or that you're not left with insane PTSD?
How is there nobody that has been so traumatized or injured? Yeah,
apparently some guy had a heart attack inside, but he's fine now, is what Russ said. But who knows? There's a lot of love and hate for this haunted house. Let me know in the comments where you guys stand. I feel like typically with things like this, I'm a lot more open-minded, but not this one. Like, I'm a lot more open-minded to, like, ooh, like, if that floats your boat, whatever. It doesn't float mine, but you can go float over there, right? Usually I'm fine with it, but this one I'm like, I don't know if that boat should be there. I feel like that boat should be docked and, like, watched by some freaking police officer. Let me know in the comments. What do you think is the reason people would do it? Like, if you had any inkling to do it, what would be your reason, right? Or do you think it's preying on people in a different way? And why do you think Russ is doing this with making zero income? I mean, he says it's his passion, but if you're losing money every day...
He has a very sick passion.
Yeah. And also it's a very weird passion. He says he's an entertainer. He compares himself to a producer, editor, and a comedian. I don't know which part of it is funny.
Comedian.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's the Joker.
Let me know in the comments all of your thoughts. And like I said, this is what I'm saying. If you don't use a VPN service, you're pretty much just putting yourself out there for whatever harm's way is available. So make sure to check out the link in the description, and I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.